This week on Jared's Got Outdoors, it's time to get out here in the spring and do something that we try to do every year, and that's go shed hunting. I've got Cade and Aubrey with me. We're hoping to find some big ones. Stay tuned. Welcome to Jared's Got Outdoors, your source in the field for local outdoor news. As I mentioned before the break, this week on Jared's Got Outdoors, we are out for an annual shed hunting trip. Now, when I say annual, you never know who's going to come. It all depends on how bad the experience was last year, or how good. Cade, how did it work out for us last year?
Horrible at the beginning and then really good at the end.
All right, we had some bad days and we had some good days. Aubrey has not been here for a little bit for shed hunting, so she was actually the one that kind of instigated this. Said, Dad, let's go shed hunting. So here we are. Aubrey, what are you hoping to find?
An antler.
We're not terribly optimistic here because it's April 17th, so we are a handful of days after the shed opener for this area because it's been closed to human entry until April 15th. We couldn't make it out the first couple days, and so we're kind of going in after the fact, after it's probably been picked over a bit. So we're looking for those that have been missed. So it's hard to go in really optimistic, but we're hoping. We're hoping we can find some, and hopefully some big ones. You know, you never know whether it's going to be moose, elk, or deer. You just never know what you're going to find, whether you're going to be successful or not. But it's nice to get out, and we're here for a good half day, so we're going to give it a whirl. When I have a few of my kids with me, we usually split up about 30 to 50 yards apart as we work a hillside. That way we can be pretty confident that we have covered most of it and we shouldn't miss too much. When it's just me, I do it a little bit differently. I don't want to waste time in spots that aren't productive by trying to see everything by myself. So instead, I do a little zigzagging, but in general, I'm not trying to cover everything. I figure if I can get a look at about half of the area, I should at least find a few of the antlers if it's good. If I do find some, then I'll go ahead and cover the area really well. If I don't find anything on the first pass, then I assume it's not a good spot and I'll move on. That way I can cover as much productive areas as possible since my days on the mountain shed hunting are pretty limited. But there's people that find a lot more antlers than I ever do and probably have better systems. At times it's tough to keep track of the others, so we always have a spot that we're going towards to meet up. Otherwise we'd get separated for sure. In this case, Cade was above me and Aubrey further up the hill above him. And yes, for the most part, I was only seeing Cade on occasion. Enough, however, that I still had an idea of where he was. That way, if we seemed to lose track of each other, I kind of knew the direction I'd head to find him again. But of course, having phones if there's phone reception or radios on everybody is a good idea. Well, we came in about a mile on the trail before we headed up in to really start looking, and it's been 45 minutes. Haven't found anything yet. This bottom of the draw has been good for moose in the past, but there's still enough snow that anything that was last year's or beyond is probably buried in the snow. Still hitting it for the open spots to see, but no luck. Haven't heard the other kids yell at all, so I don't know if they've done anything, but I'm doubting it. So just keep trying. That's all I can do. If you're wondering why shed hunting, for the most part, happens in the spring and not all year long, you can see why as I hike around. As you know, during the spring, all the vegetation is just coming out of its dormant winter. As it warms up, all this underbrush you see fills out with leaves, and it doesn't take long at all for everything lying on the ground to be hidden until late fall. So as the grasses grow and the brush fills out, you nearly have to step on antlers to find them. This is why there's always a big push to hurry up and find the antlers, and then suddenly you don't hear about much during the summer. What's the update?
0 for 0. But I'm actually not surprised. Found bear tracks.
Me too.
They're bigger than my hand.
Mine are down the bottom spot.
Mine are probably down in that snow.
Over the recent years, shed hunting has become much more popular, and so the competition, if you want to call it that, has increased. Between the popularity of shed hunting, the high price of antlers, and now COVID allowing more time off work for many avid shed hunters, it's been increasingly difficult to find antlers without putting in a lot of time.
Well, where's all your antlers?
Oh, it's hard to pick them up.
Nada, huh?
0 for 0 for 0.
So if you're new to the sport, I wouldn't go out only because you plan on finding lots of antlers. As long as you're heading out to have fun with family, get some good hiking in, or just get rid of the long winter blues, then it'll be a success. Well, so far we hadn't done any good, but we haven't given up yet. As we regrouped and hit another hillside that we hoped would produce something, I ran into a terribly thick patch of underbrush. Since Aubrey was at the top end and Cade was above her, I just busted through it. Every now and then I'll find something in these types of thick areas, but in general, I've found that the elk, deer, and moose don't like it either. Just like humans, they seem to like the easier routes. So if you're limited on where you can go or how much you can hike, just work through the places that look more desirable to you, because there's a good chance the animals took the easier route as well. In this case, the thick stuff didn't produce, but I wasn't alone. Well, we've made it back to the trailhead, and as you can see from my backpack, there are no antlers on it. We didn't find anything. Yeah, we kind of expected it. We did run into some hunters coming out, some bear hunters, and they were here on the opener and said that there was a dozen cars, dozen trucks at just this trailhead, another dozen in the next one, and there's not even a place to park a dozen vehicles. So it's probably very similar to last year's COVID antler shed season, which was just crazy because everybody was out in the hills, nobody was working. And I think it's still kind of lagging and a lot of that going on right now. So anyways, we picked up nothing. Last year, like I mentioned, was pretty sketchy for us. We had several days of not finding anything, and then Cade and I came up to this very spot and we actually did okay. So let me show you at least that part of last year's shed hunting season.
Yeah!
On this trip, Cade and I spent several hours of the day finding an old set of deer antlers and an equally old moose antler. So a much better day, but still not much for the time we'd spent out. Then we had a bit of fortune to end the day.
Woohoo!
Tell them what you're woohooing about.
There's a moose antler over there. Another one.
That is a pretty moose.
Oh, some brown.
Oh, that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's a shed right there, buddy. Look at that. Yeah, you gotta like that. That's front end on them is beautiful. Not too many Idaho bulls get those kind of front ends. That is awesome.
Woo!
With daylight quickly running out, Cade and I spread out to see if we could find the other side to this nice bull. Unfortunately, it was some thick stuff.
Right in a spot you would never think it. I can see another moose. I don't know if it's a match to that one or not, but
This did appear older, and it turned out they were both rights, so they couldn't have been a match. So we had two unmatched sets, and so of course we kept looking. Pushing it till almost dark, we weren't able to find the other sides. Gall, you can't complain about how this day ended. It was looking like it was going to be okay. And then just in the last 10 minutes, we come in and pick up two more moose sheds, and this one especially is just a beautiful moose here. Okay, so that was last year's successful trip after a few busts. And just like last year, this year's first trip didn't work out. However, I hadn't given up yet.
We're back out. Rylee, what are you hoping for today?
Hoping to find some good sheds, and a few of them at least.
So we don't have a lot of time. We've actually got just about 6 hours total, and that's with the hiking. And so there's a couple hours of hiking. We're hoping for about 4 hours of actual, in the good stuff, looking for antlers. So we are going to head out, see what we can do.
With time short, we took off on the hike. We had a couple miles to go before getting to the area we hoped to find antlers in. But about a mile in, we ran into a big problem. Beaver ponds as far as we could see in either direction. It was Rylee that had what we thought was a great idea. Unique, but it sure seemed like it would work. And this long, skinny deadfall was just what we needed.
We've ran into a problem.
We have a little bit of a water issue. Some beavers have dammed up this real good, so we have to find a way to cross this. So we'll be pole vaulting today.
The dams aren't quite good enough to walk on, and so we're walking up just trying to find a place to get across, and it just is getting worse and worse. And now we're stuck in just a ton of willows, but there's water all through it. And so anyways, I didn't even think about it, but Rylee, he's like, hey, we could pole vault. And you may or may not know, we are kind of a pole vaulting family, and so it didn't even dawn on me. And so Rylee was actually serious. He started looking for sticks, and so it's like, all right, I'm game. Let's do this. Rylee's a vaulter now, so he is going to be the first one up. We found a very good pole vault.
Yeah, this works every time, right?
Stick. It's not super flexible. It's not super thin. Not quite like usual, but we don't have to get really high. We just got to get across. So this should be fun.
Breaking it in half made it just about right. Now to test fit it and get a feel for how this was going to work.
Oh, you're getting rid of your phone even? That's how much you trust this to work?
Okay, you're right. I gotta have some confidence, right?
No. So the idea is a running start. I thought maybe we could just kind of step and jump, but it's too far and too deep. So it's gonna have to be a little bit of a run, plant. I don't know. Yeah, you just gotta lift. Plant and land over there. So here, I'll show you a pole vault from Rylee in high school. And you can see you can do it. So it's just, don't miss your plant. So are we doing this or not?
I think it'd be fun to try. Welcome to Jared Scott Outdoors. That thing just plummets down. You don't have any control over this pole.
Rylee realized he wasn't quite ready for a solid plant that would get him across the river. I grabbed our pole vaulting pole to get a feel myself, and I agreed that it just didn't quite seem right and started to see if there was some other options. After trying different angles, we finally came up with a conclusion that the best chance was for me to hold the pole in position and have Rylee come with a run, jump up and grab the pole and swing over. Kind of like pole climbing, if you've ever seen that. And yes, we really thought this was going to work. Ready?
I need to make sure you're ready here.
There's nothing I can do other than my arms are getting tired.
Okay, I just need to make sure you're ready for me to come.
So several minutes later, after a lot of self-pepping, Rylee was ready to make the jump.
What happened?
Okay, well, I guess that worked out about as well as most of you thought it would work.
I thought he could do it. I really thought he could, but his hand slipped and just went straight into about 4 feet of water. So now he's not happy. His boots are all full of water, and we still got to figure out how to get across. Good thing he was the one that tried that.
After watching Rylee's attempt on camera, I realized it was actually his left hand that totally missed the pole and sent him sliding down and into the water. So in reality, if it wasn't for that one mistake, I bet it would have worked perfectly. Yes, perfectly. So now that Rylee proved that this wasn't going to work, how was I going to get over? Suddenly it dawned on me that I could use the other half of the tree and lay it across the little beaver dam that was hidden in the willows and maybe use that to cross. Surprisingly, it worked much better than I expected, and I got over with just one shoe getting a little wet. Needless to say, Rylee was wondering why we hadn't done that at first.
So how was vaulting the river?
Well, I didn't vault the river.
How was swimming in the river?
Stupid. I gotta walk in wet jeans all day.
Hiking up on the hillside to get out of the willows, Rylee took a few minutes to dump the water out of his boots and wring out his socks.
Oh, it's even brown. Gosh. Putting that back on my foot.
As we're sitting here talking about it, you know, it's one of those deals where it's like, all right, if we hike in and we go several miles in wet boots, wet socks, and then come out, you know, there's a good chance he's going to be blistered up and not in good shape. And so rather than do a really rushed job, because this has taken quite a bit of time trying to figure this out, we decided let's just go ahead, we'll head out, we'll maybe hit a couple other spots that are closer to the truck that we can just drive to and do a little shed hunting and get out without getting blisters. So that's going to wrap up our shed hunting episode for now. It obviously wasn't a great year for us for the couple times that we've been out so far. I told Rylee, you know, we'll try to come out and find a better day when we have more time, not be so rushed, a little bit drier maybe, where we can
It'd be preferred.
where we can head in and actually have some quality time looking for sheds and not be so rushed. And so hopefully we'll get back out. But that's going to wrap it up for now. I hope you enjoyed it. Sometimes that's when it's good to have the kids here so they can be your guinea pigs.